Hello and thanks for stopping by. Before getting into this video, I just wanted to let you know in advance that this renovation speed build video is a long one, and that's because it took me a very long time to complete. This is a 1-pack renovation using only the Lovestruck expansion pack, so I didn't use anything from other packs or kits, though I did need to use quite a few appliances, furnishings and decor from base game, and it was good to use some new items that have been given to us simmers through base game updates we have had in recent years. I hope the Sims team can keep adding more new furnishing and decor to base game updates in the future. Using Lovestruck as the inspiration, I chose to renovate the starter home named Casita Del Amor that is located in Lovestruck's new world, Ciudad Enamorada. I think that's correct. I didn't want to just renovate and build when this pack was released. I also wanted to get right into gameplay and try out live mode. So I will just quickly talk through what I did in live mode before focusing and talking more about the renovation of this starter home. Starting off in live mode, I wanted to move in a sim and have them try out the new romance consultant career. I always love when they add new careers in new packs because it just gives more to gameplay, and if there is a new career, I will definitely have my sims try it out. Like if we ever got cars, just putting this in there because I love it when my sims have cars. But I don't know if that would be a possibility now because we are so far into the Sims 4. But yeah, I would be happy if they made it possible for your sims to own and drive cars and learn to drive a car like they did in Sims 3. In this kind of pack to do with cars could give your sims the possibility of a new career where your sims could work at a car garage, and at the garage your sims could repair cars, and when they build up their car mechanic skill enough, well, I'm imagining they would have some sort of skill like that. They then have the chance to customize cars and possibly build a car from scratch. This also gives your sims opportunity to earn more simoleons and even own and work from their own garage, which you could customize or build from your sims simoleons, which also would give builders more freedom with builds. Anyway, I drifted off track a bit. Back to what I was saying. I started off with a single sim, moved them into this Casita Del Amor starter home with the default 20,000 simoleons, which then got deducted down to I think around 2,000 simoleons after my sim purchased this home. And then I had my sim dive right into the romance consultant career with the plan of having this sim work up to the top of this career and earn enough simoleons to start the renovation. Halfway through the climb to the top, at about level 5 or 6 in the career, my sim could get by okay on the simoleons they were bringing home, enough to pay off the bills for their starter home at least. And yet, to be honest, when they reached halfway, my sim could start renovating. Not a lot, but just make a little bit of a start. So I went into build mode to start off the renovations, and I placed an extra floor on top of floor 2, making this home now have 3 floors. And also I just placed in a few items and plant pots. Then after slightly starting off the renovations, I then went back into gameplay and then focused more on my sim reaching the top of their career again before properly starting the renovation. Once my sim reached level 6 and climbed past this level, that's when the real simoleons quickly started rolling in, and even more so once my sim got to choose which branch they preferred after passing level 7. My sim chose to work in the relationship counselor branch just because it is the higher paying one out of the 2 branches your sims can choose from. Since working in this branch, my sim was quickly climbing close to 100,000 simoleons. So whilst they were still climbing from level 7 to 10, I wanted them to find a partner and bring a young sim into their sim's world. After easily finding the one through Cupid's Corner and from there creating a family and rising to level 10 in their career, they had their young offspring sim who then eventually grew into a young adult to somewhat carry on their parents' legacy and jumped onto the same career path, just to help bring in some more simoleons into the household. So finally the parent sim reached level 10 and continued working at this level, and at the same time the offspring young adult sim worked in the same career and reached level 2 before I stopped gameplay in live mode to change back into build mode. I stopped live mode here because at this point they both brought home just over 100,000 simoleons. I wanted the household to have at least 100,000 simoleons just purely because that amount gave my sims more freedom when renovating. So yeah, now you know how we got the simoleons for the build mode budget. I will now focus more on talking about renovating Casita Del Amor. I think this starter home was originally built by the Sims team because I couldn't find any info on who built it. Same with the house I renovated in Tomarang. So I guess the original house in Tomarang was also built by the Sims team, which if you haven't seen my renovation in Tomarang video yet, you can check out the video after this if you want, which is up on my channel, or you can click the tab that's just popped up in the top corner of the screen and that will take you to the video. I do know though that some of the builds in Ciudad Enamorada were built by other simmers, and I really like when the Sims team work with other simmers, as it just gives simmers the chance to be lot builders for new games, and when the rest of us are in gameplay, we can also get the chance to enjoy the builds and creations made by these simmers. I also like when the Sims team and simmers build basic houses and lots, giving us simmers the space to renovate and improve the lots when in gameplay, just making the game more enjoyable. I just want to note that throughout half or most of the time when renovating, I kind of started in one area, didn't finish it, moved to the next place of focus, and then came back to that area after starting on another area, and it was just very much back and forth. I should have focused on one area and then moved on just to make it easier to watch, but I think about halfway through this video, or when I put in the reading area under the stairs in the living room, which you will see later on in the video, that's when I noticed this myself and tried to start focusing on one area, finish it, then move on to the next. So yeah, I do plan though in future videos when building to start with the exterior and the garden first, then work on the interior, so that there seems to be an order. But for this video, my voiceover will be in order at least. So to start off, I want to tell you what is on each floor, and then after explaining the floor's layout, I will then go into more detail about each area, starting with the exterior and the garden, and then move on to the interior and balconies, working upwards from the first floor all the way up to the third. So with that being said, on the first floor we have the front entrance that leads straight into the living room at the front of the house, and we have the kitchen at the back of the house, with a back door from the kitchen that leads out into the back garden. On the second floor, once your Sims have climbed the stairs and entered the small landing, to the right your Sims have double doors leading through to the main bedroom, and in front is a door that leads to the bathroom, and the door to their left will take you out to the second floor's balcony. On the third floor we have the second bedroom, which your Sims automatically enter once they have finished climbing all the stairs in the house, and in this room you will find a door that leads to their ensuite bathroom and a door out to the third floor's balcony. Now you kind of have the idea of what each floor's layout looks like. From here I'm going to dive a little more into the details, firstly starting with the shell of the house and how I changed it slightly. So I liked the original shape of the house, but I wanted my Sims to have an extra bedroom to create a 2-bedroom home, but I could not fit 2 bedrooms on the original second floor, so I had to make some adjustments. So looking at the houses in the background, some of them looked like they have 3 levels, so I thought it would not look too out of place if this house also had 3 levels. So to make floor 3, I copied floor 2 and pasted it on top, but now that I had 3 floors, I had to make sure 2 staircases were going to fit in without them taking up too much space. So to do this, I extended the wall out slightly on all 3 floors, which if you are looking from the front view of the house is to the left of the front entrance. If I left the shell as it was, the stairs would have taken up quite a bit of space in the living room and the main bedroom on floor 2. I also made some other slight changes to the shell by extending the living room and kitchen out into the back garden, making these rooms slightly bigger than they were before. And I also extended floor 2 out to the back a little more, but still leaving space for a balcony. I didn't really make any changes to floor 3, just changed the balcony a little and added the extension to this third floor, which was added to all floors, which I mentioned a minute ago just to fit in the stairs. After doing the extensions, floor 1 starts with the most space, and as you move up to the top of the house, this space gradually decreases, leaving floor 3 with the least space. Because of the size and shape of each floor and the balconies added to the top 2 floors, this then naturally created a tiered shape at the back, which you can see from the side view of the house. I like the tiered look from the side, it kind of gives it some character. So overall, from the front view of the house, basically the shell is pretty much the same apart from adding floor 3, which just gives extra height to the build, and the extended wall that comes out to the left slightly. From the side view there is also a slight change because of the extended wall and the extra floor giving us more tiers to the shell. And from the back view of the house, the shell is pretty much the same also as the original apart from the extra floor and balcony. And on top of the shell of course sits the roof. I think the original build had just a half wall and a trim on top of the building, which I changed a little by replacing the half wall with the low stone wall fence and filled the top of the roof with the tailored terracotta flooring tiles from Lovestruck. Oh, and not to forget to mention, I kept the small wall height for all 3 floors same as the original. Moving on to the stairs, I learned a trick through building a few times, and that is before designing the exterior and interior, I often like to place the stairs in the house first, because this then helps me kind of have an understanding of what the lot's layout is going to look like. And from placing in the stairs first, you can then design your interior around them, because to be honest, I think one of the hardest things when building is placing the stairs in an already fully decorated and furnished house, because more often than not, you have to change at least some of the house's layout if you want to rearrange the stairs, and that also affects the decor and furnishings. I'm saying this just because I had experience before in the stairs messing up a build for me a few times in the past, and I had to start and recreate the layout from scratch, all because I decorated all the floors and then decided to add the stairs in last. I mean, sometimes it can work, but usually for me it's best that they are one of the first things to pop in. To kind of solve that problem, it would be good if we could have more smaller ladder or stair options added to the game. I always find it tricky placing the stairs in a build and knowing where to put them, so that's where you may notice in this video there is a lot of back and forth whilst I was trying to figure out where to put the stairs. The stairs I placed in this renovation are the Masterpiece Mosaic stairs from Lovestruck. I used the same colour swatch and style for both staircases. Once the stairs were set, I could then focus on the rest of the build. So moving on to the exterior. For the exterior walls, I finally chose the vibrant Casa exterior wall in the colour green after going through a lot of different colour swatches. I originally was going to choose the brownie beige colour for the walls, but I thought there was a lot of brown added to the interior anyway, so I wanted to make use of a different colour. The green exterior paint sat best, so I thought with the garden fence I chose, which is the Spanish Revival wall fence. I kept the windows for the front mostly the same as the original. I just changed the original small urban paned single windows where the bathrooms are on floor 2 and 3 to the urban paned single open window. Basically the window is the same, I just replaced it with the open version of the window, just to give the effect that your Sims are keeping these bathrooms well ventilated. It did take a while for me to decide on which window to put next to the front door on the first floor. For some reason I didn't want to keep the original window because it looked too fragile. I know that sounds silly. Because of that reason, I wanted to place in a stronger looking window, so I changed the original window to the stonework ornate window, matching both the entrance door and the windows. For the windows at the side and the back of the house, I again used the urban paint single open window, and for the back doors leading out to the back garden and balconies, I kept the original doors in the same colour swatch, and all the windows at the front of the house are in the same green colour swatch as the exterior wall paint, and all the windows at the back are in the white swatch just to match the back doors. Attached to most of the windows at the back of the house is the decorative window cage with a base game plant sitting inside, and I also used the same window cage at the front of the house on the small urban painted single open window on floor 3 and popped the vine-like floral vase bouquet. I don't know how to say that. Bouquet? I say that really strange. That came with Lovestruck inside this window cage. To change up some of the windows so it wasn't all the same, I added below some of the windows some planter boxes. The planter boxes I used were the vibrant Casa planter box from Lovestruck in the green colour swatch, just to match perfectly with the exterior paint, windows and front door. Originally I popped a base game planter box over floor 2's small bathroom window, but when going back into game and looking at the front of the house from the outside, I realised I didn't like this planter box sitting above the window, so I went back and removed it. To decorate the front entrance, I kept the artsy urban number sign that came with the pack. These number signs just add great detail to a build. Also, I kept the wall plant underneath this number sign that was originally there. I might have just moved the position of the plant and number sign slightly just to make it look a little better. And to finish the entrance decor off, I added in the new Victorian style light, which wasn't there before. I just put it there to give some light to the front entrance. To the left of the front entrance, I added in the base game mailbox, which I originally wanted to pop into the fence at the front to make it look like a wall mailbox, but it didn't work when I was playtesting, so eventually I had to move it and sit it at the front of the fence. And I also changed the colour of this mailbox to match the exterior colours better. There is a little clip at the end of this video of me making those changes to the mailbox's colour and position. Moving on to the front garden. For the front of the house, and I like the idea of the house being open to the city or world without being closed off at the front. To make the front of the house more interesting, I just popped a plant pot at the front of the door with a Lovestruck debug pink plant sitting in it. I also placed a little seating area in front of the window next to the front door where your Sims can read a book or chat with friends and family with a spicy hot chocolate in the evening. For the seating area, I used 2 base game outdoor chairs and the base game mini outdoor table, and on top I placed the new cozy little chic elegance table light. At one side of the front entrance, I gave your Sims a base game bicycle in green, and at the other side of the house I added a few colourful pots sitting near the wall. In these pots I left some little gifts for your gardening Sims. These gifts are a rose bush, which might help them on their dates or on love day, and a strawberry and snapdragon plant in case they wanted to grow a dragon fruit. I didn't graft the dragon fruit for your Sims in case they wanted to raise their gardening skill, but they do have the recipe or ingredients to make it. Next to the pots I placed a few gardening clutter items like the watering can and the hose hanging on the wall to make it feel more like your Sims are actually gardening. One last item I popped out the front, which is important, is an outdoor bin, which I placed next to the gate that leads your Sims through to the back garden. If entering the back garden by this gate, then your Sims are welcomed by 2 mini cactus gardens at either side of your Sims whilst they walk down the little grass walkway. To make the 2 mini cactus gardens, I started off by putting in a small base game smooth keeper fence next to the wall of the house and the garden fence, just to separate the 2 mini cactus gardens from the grass landscaping. I then originally used quite a few Lovestruck debug cactus plants, but then eventually deleted some and replaced them with the cactus plants that you can find in the outdoor plants part of the catalogue. That's why you will probably notice when it gets to it that you might see some random plants appear and then disappear. That's because I was choosing which plants to put in this area. To make this area feel more like a place where cactuses thrive, I surrounded the plants with some debug stones and some stones or rocks from the catalogue, and I then used the landscaping tool to paint the ground under the cactus plants with sand. For the finishing touches, I placed some outdoor lanterns on the corners of the smooth keeper fences just to light up the cactus garden at night. If you were to enter the back garden from the back door in the kitchen, you have a little rug on the outside of the door. I tried and tested placing down outdoor flooring and landscaping outside of this back door, but with the limit I had with using only base game and Lovestruck, nothing seemed to fit well for me, so I just made do with the rug, which the rug doesn't look too bad, I don't think. And to either side of this back door are a few plants in pots. The plants in pots I used by the back door are usually used for indoors, but I think some indoor plants in pots look really good out in the garden, and it gives more variety to your Sims outdoor plants. Also, I just want to share with you this as it may be a good little tip for you. By using the eyedropper tool and changing the swatch and size of the same item and placing it in the same or different area, this is another way to give variation to your Sims home decor, especially if you have limited packs. In case your Sims can't find their keys and the sun is blazing hot, they now have a little protection from their power shade awning that came with Lovestruck hanging over their back door. To run along the bottom of the wall at the back of the house where the back door sits, I used, I don't know what it is, but like some grass from debug because it felt it needed something between the wall of the house and the ground. I also used this same debug grass to kind of make a hedge to run along most of the fence's wall around the garden, and in between this grass I popped in a few low-lying palm plants in different places along one side of the fence. I knew I wanted and had to place the new fountain that came with Lovestruck in the back garden because I really like this garden feature, especially as this one actually has a water feature that works. I was happy to see they added this touch, and I hope they also do this with more water fountains in future packs, kits, rewards or updates. Also, the size of this water fountain is great because it's not too big. It's nice and small enough so that any home could add this feature to their garden. I placed this water fountain against the fence so that this is the first thing that your Sims see when they step out into their back garden from their back door. This water fountain sits on the masterpiece mosaic tiles in a swatch that matched the fountain almost perfectly. Where the fountain is placed now, I originally had the Got game table, but I really wanted to have the new fountain, and the only place the fountain looked good was in the area where this table was, so I swapped the table for the fountain. Plus, the Sims have plenty of other activities they can enjoy if they purchase this home. Behind the water fountain, to make it stand out a little more and kind of seem like the main feature of this back garden, I placed in the fun looking metal hanging starlights which brightly light up this water fountain at night. We have at one side of this water fountain the multi-purpose blanket placed under the new very colourful jacaranda tree, kind of creating a little picnic area. And to make the picnic area more comfortable for both day and night, I placed in the corner some candles, a guitar and some plant pots. All items in this picnic corner under the tree are from Lovestruck. Then on the other side of the water fountain, I made a little barbecue area for if your Sims run any social events or if any Sims want to come over. I placed in the new mosaic wooden picnic table where your Sims can enjoy their poor, normal or excellent quality barbecue meals. This picnic table is sheltered from the strong Ciudad Enamorada sun by the new tri-shade sun blocker, which sits in front of a debug palm tree. The tree is surrounded by some lavender and more low-lying palm plants, just to add more greenery to this outdoor barbecue eating area. On top of the wooden picnic table, you will find I have given your Sims the Who's Up party games activity. Just a tip, this board game is a quick way for your Sims to find out their date's preferences, what they like and don't like. When looking at the back of the house, you will see on the right side of the house there is a little fenced in plant pot area just under the kitchen window. In this fenced area sit 3 plant pots. Sitting in 2 of the green plant pots are some pink plants from Debug, and in the middle pot there is a bouquet of flowers, that word again, that can be purchased from the flower shop that came with the new pack. I mean, you probably wouldn't really put a bouquet of flowers in a plant pot, but when sized up or down and with a bit of repositioning, they can look good. And to add some finishing touches to this little area, I added a hose pipe attached to the wall and some gardening gloves from the base game clutter items. Also, further down this side of the house, you will find I placed some more pink, purple and other colourful debug plants just to fill in this side of the house. I also placed down in the corner the base game palm tree, which I sized down just so that it would fit nicely in the corner. Once I had placed the palm tree in the corner, I then sat some low-lying palm plants at the bottom of this palm tree. I placed in 2 of the wooden awning kind of items with some greenery attached from Debug to the wall. I added this awning in because I liked the greenery it had attached to it, and also it didn't take up too much space. To make this awning a little better, I added some overhanging greenery from Debug just to make it look like plants were growing over the top of it. I then added 2 base game benches underneath the 2 awnings, and for some decor I added the base game little outdoor table in between, and on top of this table sits a cake which I got from Debug, and I popped behind the cake just for a little decoration and to light up this little area, the candlestick from Lovestruck. This was just to fill up some space down the side of the house and somewhere where your Sims can enjoy their cake, if that was at least possible. However, unfortunately your Sims can't sit on those benches, or at least my Sims can't sit on either of the 2 benches, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I used the Debug item over the top of the benches. I am really not sure, so if you know, please let me know in the comments below if there is a way I can get my Sim to sit on the bench and ignore the overhanging Debug item, because yeah, that would be good to know for future builds and probably helpful for other Simmers. I do go back and forth about 3 times placing and removing this Debug awning type item against the wall over the benches, and that's because I had to remove them to see what I was doing when I wanted to place in some greenery and other items down the side of the garden. Also added the same overhanging greenery to the front of the house where the lavender sits in the roof planter box, just to make the front of the house a little more interesting. If it's annoying that your Sims can't sit on these benches and you want to remove the benches and replace them with something else, please feel free to do so, but I wasn't too fussed myself by my Sims not being able to sit there because they have plenty of other seats dotted inside and outside of the house, so I was just happy to use the benches as decor. And for the finishing touches to this side area, I added some Debug hanging lights to give it an even more comfortable feel, and alt placed them next to the tree just to make them look like they were hanging from the tree. Just a note, before moving on to the living room, when using Debug I filtered the search to Lovestruck because I didn't want to add any items from other packs accidentally for both inside and outside of the house. I may have used 1 or 2 items from base game debug, but mostly used Lovestruck debug items. This garden is inspired quite a bit by Ciudad Enamorada, so that's why there are a few cactus and palm plants and trees dotted around the garden, and you also might notice these kind of plants are dotted around different rooms inside of the house as well. Now moving on to the inside of this build, when you walk through the front entrance, your Sims enter straight into the living room. One of the first items I chose when redesigning the living room was the new yellow gothic leather sectional couch. I placed this yellow couch where I wanted the small TV area to be. After the couch was placed, I then added in the small gothic curvy wooden table in a swatch that matched the wooden accents on the couch, with a small base game silver TV on top. And to add comfort to this TV area, I placed the Lovestruck Fringe Fiesta rectangle rug in a swatch that matched the furnishings. The yellow sofa as well as the staircase inspired the colour theme, that being yellow and brown, and the decor for this room. So after starting off with a small TV area, I then covered the walls with the Simply Moody wallpaper in yellow and covered the floor in the tailored terracotta flooring in a brown swatch, both being from the Lovestruck pack. I definitely wanted to make use of the flower pattern wallpaper that came with the pack and make an accent wall out of it in this build. So I thought having the wall where the new curved archway sits leading through to the kitchen was a good place to paste this wallpaper in the green and yellow swatch. Having this accent wallpaper also brought out a pop of different colour to the room, yet also having the yellow in the wallpaper kept it in tune with the rest of the room. Once popping the wallpaper on the walls, tiles on the floor and couch where the TV area would be, I then placed quite a few decor items around the room to match the colour theme, and also threw in a few other colours here and there, such as the purple lamp and rug in the reading area under the stairs. Originally, I was thinking of putting a desk with a computer in this area under the stairs, but for me all the desks were a bit too big. It took me a while to figure out what I could do with the space, but in my head I was thinking of having a comfortable reading area or a study area. So eventually I settled for the chair that goes with the sofa in the yellow, and once I placed this yellow chair, a few shelves with books, clutter and decor to sit on, everything then came together and this turned into a cozy little reading area. At the bottom of the stairs, I extended the wall nearest the front entrance into the living room a little more. It took me a while to figure out what to do with the newly extended wall, to be honest. I tried all sorts of things and then finally decided to settle on a cozy little closet area for your Sims to fit inside this wall, where your Sims can gussy up to go out or set their indoor shoes, slippers or none at all preference using the shoe rack. And also it took away the huge space that was behind the couch in the TV area. I didn't want to make the TV area bigger than it was because I liked it being a small comfortable place for your Sims to enjoy. For your Sims to be able to enter this little closet, I placed in the small curved archway from Lovestruck. On the outside of the closet wall, I added some of the new pictures that came with the pack. Underneath these pictures, I put the base game foyer table with the Flame of Love candlestick sitting on top of each side of the table. As well as these candlesticks being great decor items, they save your Sims some simoleons when the builds are delivered, as they are off the grid. In between these candlesticks sit hand-painted clay pots. I love having handmade things in my Sims homes. It just adds a nice antique touch, I feel. I wanted to add in some activities in this room to help fill up some more space, so I added in the same acoustic guitar as the one outside in the back garden near the blanket, and I added a chess table for your Sims to up their logic skill, which is very useful for the new romantic consultant career. Between the TV area and the chess table, I popped in a base game discrete divider. I used this divider to separate the chess and TV area, but also without making the room too small, keeping it kind of separate but also at the same time nice and open. By the entrance door, I placed a rug, a big green plant and a coat rack just to make the entrance more homely. For the finishing touches to this living room, I added more Lovestruck decor items on the coffee table and a little gothic tassel leather seat just to fit nicely with the couch in the TV area. And Robin the plant. That's not my name for the plant. The Sims team named the new plant that came with the pack Robin the plant, which is kind of cute. So make sure your Sims take care of Robin. Which leads me on to say it would be so cool if a kit or a pack came out in the future where our Sims have the opportunity to have indoor plants that are interactable with, the same as outdoor plants, where your Sims have to water them or they wither away if not taken care of. Just giving chance for those Sims who live in apartments or don't have access to outdoor space on their home lot to up their gardening skill. I placed Robin the plant near the accent wall, left of the TV just to break up the divide between the plain yellow wall and the flower patterned wall. And on the other side of the TV area, to fill the corner, I placed a big grandfather's clock next to the window, and to slightly cover the window I placed a green curtain. On the wall where the stairs sit, I couldn't decide what to put on it to fill up the blank space, so I finally left it as it was, giving your Sims freedom of choice in what they want to put there. Though I did pop on the stairs the vine-like floral vase bouquet. Oh no, that word. Just to add a little something and more greenery to the room, and I think it gives a nice touch of decor for your Sims to look at during their climb. And finally for this room, I changed the smaller painting to the larger Timeless Elegance, a classic collection painting from Lovestruck, which I found filled the space on the wall behind the TV perfectly. Behind the nice new curved archway in the living room sits the kitchen. For the kitchen, I kept the original wallpaper that was already pasted on the walls and changed the swatch on the floor tiles to a brown. In this room, I used a lot of base game decor, kitchen furnishings and appliances, simply because we didn't get any kitchen appliances with this pack, only a few decor items. To start, I kept the original cabinets from base game that were already placed and added some plain base game shelves to sit above them. I changed the swatch for both the cabinets and shelves to a dark brown swatch, giving an antique feel to the kitchen. I wrapped some of the cabinets around the wall nearest the arch entrance so that the kitchen feels open and easily accessible for your Sims to move between the kitchen and the dining area. For the decor and furnishings, I could use quite a few Lovestruck items, like the artsy porcelain veggie bowl, which can be found sat on a kitchen cabinet near the archway, and above this veggie bowl is the single basic indoor fan. They also have, from the Lovestruck pack, the hand-painted clay pots sitting on one of the shelves, and the petite can of flowers sat on top of a corner kitchen cabinet, and on another corner cabinet you can find the festive food warmer item. I did add a little something from the Lovestruck debug items, which was the spicy hot chocolate drink, and you can find that near the petite can of flowers. The rest of the decor and clutter items on the cabinets and shelves I took from the base game part of the catalogue. I added quite a bit of clutter, but not too much, just to make the kitchen feel like it's being used, but also giving space for your Sims to cook. I wanted to keep the antique feel in the kitchen, so I chose items like the Wake Me Up antique coffee pot and the vase to sit on the shelves. When placing the clutter up on the shelves, it took me a while because I didn't want to overuse the same items, which can easily be done when limited to a one-pack build. I wanted to mix the decor and clutter up a little, so at first I tried to add a few items from debug, but then eventually got rid of all debug items apart from the hot chocolate and replaced them with items from Lovestruck and base game, just to keep it simple. And in case you were wondering why some items randomly appear and then disappear off the shelves, that's because it took a while, so I edited out a lot of me placing and removing items. At the other end of the kitchen we have the dining area. This area gave opportunity to add some more colour to the room and a great place to put in more Lovestruck items, like the deep-toned wooden table with the bar stools that go with it in a brown and orange swatch, and on top of this wooden dining table sits the new lotus-like used small flowers. These flowers are great because they fit in many spaces and places because of their small size, and they just bring a small splash of colour to any room. To fill the wall above the table, I placed in the fruit and vegetable artwork. Because the stools from this dining set added orange to the room, this then inspired me to add other hints of colour around the room, such as the orange bin, the yellow and red aprons sitting near the archway entrance, and bits of gold and copper which I used on the pans that sit above the stove. For the lighting, I used the base game chandelier on the ceiling and placed the matching wall lights onto the wall on either side of the picture above the dining table. Also for decoration, I added the candlestick up on one of the shelves to light up the shelving area a little, and for some greenery in the kitchen, I hung a base game planter box over the kitchen window. I really wanted to use the new backsplash that came with this pack, but the colours for me were not sitting right in this kitchen. But I do hope to use this in future builds, and I also hope for more new backsplash decor items in future packs. Now moving up to floor 2, where you enter the landing. Originally, the landing was not a landing. The stairs just led into the bedroom, and the whole of the second floor was a bedroom with an ensuite bathroom. This only became a landing once I placed an additional wall across from the stairs to the bathroom. I created a landing because I didn't want the stairs leading from floor 2 to 3 in the main bedroom. bedroom. I wanted the main bedroom to be more closed off and private, so the stairs now wrap around the outside of the main bedroom's wall, and I also moved the bathroom door from the inside of the bedroom walls to the outside. On this landing, you will also find that the two staircases kind of meet each other. So between the two stairs, I placed in a half wall to kind of separate both staircases and make it look like there is not so much of a big drop down to the first floor. I made the floor tiles match the staircases swatch and copied the base game Desert Skies paint that is used in the main bedroom and pasted it in the landing area. We have a rug over the tiles, just giving comfort and warmth to the space, and more importantly, so that your Sims don't slip in case they didn't dry off their feet after using the bathroom, or simply because they are just clumsy. This rug now prevents them from having such a hard landing. I kept the original door that leads out to the balcony and the original door to the bathroom. I just changed the colour of the bathroom door and added the base game double doors leading into the main bedroom. I chose the double doors with windows just to make the main bedroom feel a little more open and spacious. And for some decorative touches to the landing, I placed the big palm plant near the window, and on the wall over the stairs, just to add a little decor to the plain wall, I placed the picture of the colourful birds. To light up the landing, I used the same base game chandelier as the one in the kitchen because this light seemed to be the best fit compared to the other lighting. Originally, I wanted to add more lighting from Lovestruck, and I thought the landing had enough space and more decorative freedom when it came to choosing the light, but some of them that looked good, like the mother of pearl hanging light from the pack, ended up hanging too low for the landing, so I just had to settle for the base game one in the end. And to finish off, I added a light switch near the balcony door. I think, to be honest, I added a light switch in every room just to give the home a little bit of a realistic touch. Moving on to the bathroom on floor 2. It took quite a while to figure out the layout of this bathroom because it was quite big, especially now that I had extended the bathroom wall out onto the balcony a little more. So now with this additional space added to the bathroom, it looked like it needed more items from the catalogue rather than just a sink, bath and a toilet to fill up the room. So I placed in this room the same cabinets as the kitchen and fitted a sink into one of the cabinets. But even though I added the cabinets to fill up quite a bit of space, the room still felt it needed something extra. So that's why I added in an extra wall to separate the bathing area from the rest of the bathroom. And also I knew I wanted to create privacy between the bathing area and the rest of the bathroom. Same for this bathroom as the kitchen. I had to make use of most base game items because there is only one new bathroom plumbing item that came with the pack, that being the shower. But I knew that the new shower was going to be placed on floor 3, so I didn't want to use the same shower twice. So instead I opted for a base game bathtub, and also it's convenient for your Sims to have both a bath and a shower for their home in case they have any pets or young Sims in the household, or they may just want to relax with their soaks. After going through many options for what to place on the walls and floor, I finally settled for the base game Glamour Tuff stained concrete flooring under the stone flooring part of the catalogue, and the base game I've Been Framed paint for the walls. I didn't place the terracotta flooring down that is placed in most of the rooms because I felt there were too many of the same tiles throughout the house, so it was nice to have this bathroom be a bit different. To finish off this bathroom, I placed lighting, decor and clutter from both base game and Lovestruck just to cover some of the wall and floor space. I wanted to put quite a few pieces of decor and clutter on the wall, so to do this I placed some shelves on the wall over the cabinets and filled them with a mix of clutter and decor. I also added clutter on top of the cabinets. Over the sink I placed a mirror where your Sims can up their charisma skill for their career or for improving their relationships. When looking through the different mirrors, I noticed in the catalogue a few new mirrors. At least I think they have given us some new mirrors in maybe like a base game update at some point. I placed the hanging plant over the toilet and the botanical wall planter on the wall near the bathroom door just to add plants to the room. I'm pretty sure I added plants to every room in this house. I wanted to make the bathing area comfortable for your Sims, so I thought that having a nice little plant with a candle in the room with the touch of starlight wall lights from Lovestruck would really bring that comfort in. Also, to make it feel more of a realistic bathing area for your Sims, I gave them some towels and a gown that is easily accessible after they have finished bathing. For the finishing touches to this bathing area, I created a window ledge so that I could add some decor to the window. I created the window ledge by using the immaculate shelves from base game, which I downsized and alt moved to fit them together to make them look like one window ledge. And to give some something even extra to this bathroom, I made use of the behind the beaded curtain that came with the pack just to decorate the archway that leads from the toilet and sink area into the bathing area, and it also makes it look a little more homely and warm. Moving on to the main bedroom, I decided to have this bedroom on floor 2 be the main bedroom just because this floor had the most space out of the 2 floors. I knew I wanted to make this room feel more like a main bedroom, so I wanted to do something a little more than just placing a bed and a few bedside tables. I thought it would suit this room to have what looked kind of like a built-in wardrobe built around a bed. So once I chose the base game bed, I slotted the bed's headboard into the wall using the Alt key. I then wanted to use some base game wardrobes and drawers to create the look of a built-in wardrobe, and also I chose these because I wanted your Sims to be able to interact with them. But when putting the walls down in gameplay, you had like a floating set of drawers and you couldn't view the bathroom very well just because the floating drawers were in the way. So I removed the wardrobes and drawers and replaced them with what you use as upper kitchen cabinets in a kitchen. The upper kitchen cabinets worked well as a pretend built-in wardrobe because the cabinet swatch matched the bed and the style of the room very well, and also if in live mode when using half walls or walls down view, the cabinets disappear so that then you can actually see what your Sims are doing in the bathroom. I did try to place in some bedside tables to make it look like the bed was attached to the cabinets, but none were working, so instead I placed in some simple immaculate shelves in a similar swatch to the cabinets and placed them on either side of the bed, creating a place for your Sims to place a lamp, a book for some nighttime reading, and some decor. I decided that having an accent wall would be a best fit behind the bed. To create this accent wall, I used a wallpaper from base game, and to add a little more to this accent wall, I popped in some pictures from the pack, the same pictures that I used on the outside of the closet wall in the living room. The walls in this room use the same paint as the paint on the landing, and for the floor I used the terracotta tiles again, but in a beige colour. To make use of the space behind the stairs, I popped in a little closet or walk-in wardrobe with some mirrors along the wall. Unfortunately, you can't interact with the hanging clothes hanging in the walk-in wardrobe. They are just a clutter item, but you can change or plan outfits using the floor-to-ceiling mirrors. And to add some decor, I added in a backpack that sits at the side of the shoe rack, and I put in the little statue in the corner that came with Lovestruck. For the lighting of this walk-in wardrobe, I just used these small spotlights because the room was too small to have a hanging light or wall lights. And to add a little comfort, I just placed in a little Lovestruck rug. For the entrance into this walk-in wardrobe, I used a base game archway, which I think is a new archway from a base game update we've had in recent years. The little walk-in wardrobe area automatically created a little nook in the corner of the bedroom by the window, which was a great place to fit in a little study area. So in this study area, I placed a desk, and on this desk you will find a computer, swan sculpture, just because I thought the swan sculpture fit the theme of this pack very well with the love heart shape it creates. I also placed on the desk a candle, some flowers, and a camera just in case they wanted to up their photography skill, and some books for decor. The desk chair I used is unlocked when your Sims reach a certain level in the business career, but I did unlock this chair using cheats just to place this chair, because out of the base game and Lovestruck items, this chair was the best match. I also gave your Sims a little treat on the desk, which are the chocolate truffles, so now your Sims don't have to go out and buy them. For the finishing touches to the main bedroom, I added a bookcase because I wanted to make good use of the space of the wall near the entrance to the bedroom, and next to this bookcase you will find I placed a little plant in a copper swatch pot, and on top I placed another plant which sits next to a fishbowl, and just in case your Sims wanted a pet to come with the house. Placed above the double doors is the birds from the wall sculpture part of the catalogue, which I thought was a beautiful decoration, and I don't often use this wall sculpture, so this was a great time to make use of it. I also added a fan to keep the room cool on the ceiling, and of course not to forget more plants. I placed a plant on top of the little round accent table from base game near the window, and to add more comfort to the room I placed the base game rug under the bed so that when your Sims get out of bed in the morning their feet are nice and warm. Moving out to the balcony, I kept the original balcony that was there and just made some adjustments, which I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the shell or the exterior. I kept the original balcony and added a balcony to floor 3 just because I like Sims having a balcony to sit on, just giving them another place to sit outdoors with a different view. On floor 2, I extended like half of the wall a little more out onto the balcony, which then automatically made a little nook area to the left of the balcony door. In this little nook area, I thought it would be great to make use of it and place in a cozy little outdoor bar corner. So to do this, first I placed the new single tile bar from Lovestruck in a pastel green just to match with the exterior colours, and then I placed the same debug wooden awning that I used at the side of the house in the back garden against the wall, just because the size of the awning fit perfectly in this little nook area. The awning created kind of a shelter, or looks like it creates kind of a shelter for the outside, just in case the weather changes. Underneath this awning, I placed the immaculate shelf and added on top a wine bottle rack from Base Game Clutter, and sitting next to the wine bottles is the petite kind of flowers. Above the shelf, hanging on the wall, is like a menu board item from Base Game Decor, just to make it feel more like a bar. And to light up the bar at night and add to the outdoor bar vibe going on, I added in the touch of starlight lights to cover the wall behind the shelf and awning. And adding a more homely feel to the bar area, I just placed in the Lovestruck rug underneath. And for finishing touches in the bar corner, I just sat a few plants and placed a wall hanging plant from Lovestruck on the wall just to give more of an outdoor bar feeling. I also really wanted to use the Lovestruck indoor palm tree because of the lighting it has on the pot, so I thought this plant would suit the outdoor corner bar area really well. I wanted to keep this bar area small and cozy, so it's more like a personal bar for your Sims, but also something that comes in handy for when they're running social events or when they have family and friends over, or even guests coming to stay. I also knew that I wanted to have seating available close by to the bar so that your Sims can just sit and enjoy their drinks or have some food. So at the other side of the door, outside of the window, I placed an outdoor table with seating that also came with a parasol just for some shade from the sun. And just for some decorative touches by the door and seating area, I placed the hand-painted clay pots from Lovestruck Decor and just some candles in the corner. Just to note, the debug awning made a bit of a problem when Sims tried to use the bar, so I repositioned the bar a little so that they can now use it. Now that I have changed the position of the bar, there is still a little bit of a problem with the overhanging debug awning, so what I have to do in gameplay when I want my Sim to use the bar is direct my Sims to go behind the bar, first by clicking go here and then choosing the actions I want my Sims to perform at the bar. For the floor on both balconies, I kept the same flooring as the original just because the colour and style fit together well with the exterior wall paint. I'm really happy and pleased with how this balcony on floor 2 has turned out. It's turned out better than I expected it to. Now moving on up to the third and final floor. First we'll start off in the bedroom. I kept this room simple so that your Sims can easily change this bedroom into whatever they wanted. For example, if they wanted an office or a place to put pet stuff, they could then change this room and easily do that. Most of the items in this room are from Lovestruck because I wanted one room to at least have a lot of Lovestruck inspiration in case your Sims didn't want to change this room into something else. So with this inspiration in mind, I of course had to have the famous among us Simmers, the heart-shaped bed that has been part of the Sims for a very long time. So at the side of this heart-shaped bed, I placed the two heart-shaped cornery feelings end tables on either side. I had my Sim earn the end tables from climbing to the top level in their branch within their romance consultant career. Behind the bed, to give a little decor to the wall, I added in the new wall decal, giving a splash of different colour to the room. And hanging over the bed, there is the huge brightened bloom light, and underneath the bed lays a fluffy rug. In the corner near the window, I place in a wall that is one tile wide, just to give some privacy to your Sims when they are getting ready for the day. Behind this wall, I created a kind of closet or wardrobe corner, and in this corner you will find I have placed the new costume trunk and a new mirror, just a place where your Sims can plan or change their outfits. To make this feel even more like a corner closet or wardrobe, I added the hanging clothes from Clutter Items just over the costume trunk, and underneath the mirror I placed a sized down immaculate shelf where I placed a little light to lighten up the corner, and for some decor I just added in some nail polish. On the opposite side of this wall is a picture and some candles on the floor just for decoration. In this bedroom, your Sims have a little seating area where I placed the I chair-ish you chair, which my Sim unlocked once they reached level 10 in their career. And I placed a cushion from the login rewards sports event that happened quite a while back now, just for some extra comfort. Next to the chair, I placed the modernized modern coffee table with the Love's little book collection on top, another bonus item from working in the romantic consultant career. And just for decor, I gave your Sims Ozzy the fuzzy penguin plush, which is sat on the floor next to the coffee table. For the finishing touches in this room, I added some base game plants and some base game blinds just to cover the windows a little. I placed in the iron patterned fence from Lovestruck around the top of the stairs just for your Sims safety. And a bonus to this room is that they do have their own ensuite bathroom. In this ensuite bathroom, I wanted to make use of the new shower and shower doors that came with the pack. But first, to place in the shower, I had to extend the bathroom a little more into the bedroom. So after extending the wall, I could then easily place in the shower. Once the shower was fitted, I then placed the toilet next to the shower just to make use of the empty corner in between the door and the shower. For the sink area, I placed a sink into a plain base game cabinet in a colour that matched both the tiles and the plumbing. For this room, I kept the tiles on the floor the same as the original and just added the matching wall tiles. Both the wall and floor tiles are from Lovestruck. To fill the space at either side of the sink area, I popped in 2 immaculate shelves on the left and decorated them by placing just some clutter items on top. And to the right, I filled the space with a plant. I found a place where to put a Lovestruck mirror, which was on the blank wall between the shower and the sink. To add more decor on the wall where the mirror sits, I placed under the mirror the immaculate shelf with the tiny flowers in a pink and orange swatch to sit on top. I chose the swatch on the flowers to match the dressing gowns that were placed on the wall, and also the flowers helped add in a bit of different colour to the bathroom. I also placed next to the flowers some towels, which I downsized to look like small little towels, and under this shelf I placed another towel just to make it look like the towel is hanging from the shelf, which your Sims can use after a shower. I also placed a little hand towel near the sink just to give more of a realistic feel to the bathroom. And for the finishing touches, I added a clutter item to the shower just so it looks like that's where your Sims can keep their shampoos and things like that. To make the corner where the toilet sits less bare, I added in a toilet roll clutter item and a bathroom cabinet above the toilet just to make it look like they have more storage. And not to forget the rug where I placed near the sink just for comfort. For the lighting, I used the simple small saucer lights just to brighten up the bathroom and keep the lighting simple. Moving out to the balcony on this third and final floor, I wanted to place some activities on this balcony just so that your Sims actually use it, and also it's just another way to get your outdoorsy Sims outdoors. The activity items I placed on this balcony, which I think I mentioned them before, are the easel and a telescope. I also added some more planter pots. Next to these planter pots, I added 3 pots of plants, and I also placed another plant next to the telescope just to add more of a garden vibe to this balcony. To decorate the rest of the balcony, I placed in a chair with a base game side table with a plant on top. And to decorate the window above this chair and table area, I placed a base game plant in the decorative window cage. To add something extra to the blank wall above the telescope, I added in 2 mega wall hanging decorations, and inside these 2 mega wall hangings I placed a candle and some decorative plates. Just a note, I moved the planter boxes slightly because the Sims couldn't walk past them to use the easel. Oh, and also not to forget the gnome decor sitting next to the balcony door, where I placed a little plant on top with a candle sprouting out of it. And lastly, to add the finishing touches to the whole renovation, I didn't forget to add ceiling paint, which I added at the very last minute. Now that I have finished talking through the renovations, I just want to tell you about the 3 lot traits this house has. So lot trait number 1 is the sunny aspect trait. Lot trait number 2 is the natural light trait. This was already an existing lot trait, and so I thought I might as well keep it. And for the third and final lot trait, I chose the romantic aura trait. I did playtest and everything seemed to work fine in this build. You might just have to command Sims to go here and sit before using some items. For example, if you want a Sim to sit and read under the stairs in the living room in the cozy reading corner, then have your Sims choose a book, put it in their inventory, and choose to sit on the yellow chair and read the book from their inventory. I don't know why you have to get them to sit or go here before carrying out an action. Maybe it's because of the way I have placed some things, or the game is just being buggy. I'm not sure. But your Sims can still use things, at least apart from the benches I talked about earlier in the back garden. And also, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't use any Lovestruck Heartbreak Happens digital content items, which are the items that came if you purchased the pack early. So yeah, I didn't use any of those items in case you didn't have them in your game. Just a note, when it comes to me putting the finishing touches to this video, a new base game update was released, and with this update, new base game items and swatches were added into the build mode catalog. So that answers what I mentioned before about hoping that the Sims team would add more items and swatches to base game. So I am a very happy Simmer indeed. I went around and double checked everything was okay and not out of place before uploading this lot to the gallery. After the checks, I then uploaded this renovation to the gallery for you and your Sims to enjoy. This is up on the gallery as Casita Del Amor Reno under Just a Fan of the Sim, similar to the name of this channel but without the S on the end. Please turn on BB Move Objects before placing this build into your Sims world, as that's what I used when renovating this house. If BB Move Objects is not turned on, then some items may not appear or may be displaced when placing this lot into your Sims world. It does say on the gallery for some reason that I use Get to Work items in my build, but I didn't, and I am not sure why it is saying that. The only thing I can think of is because I placed some debug items in this build, but even so, I filtered both debug and catalog to only base game and Lovestruck when renovating, so please ignore that. It should not affect anything when placing this build if you don't have the Get to Work expansion pack. Before saying goodbye, I want to say thank you to those who left a comment on my little library speed build video. I think people are enjoying watching the process of the build through my speed build videos, so I do plan to do many more in the future. And thank you to those for watching, liking and subscribing. It really means a lot, and it's nice to see that my hours of work mean something. Also, I want to say happy 10 years anniversary to The Sims 4, and on that note, thanks for watching and see you next time.